this video, we are going to talk about quality assurance as your metric. Hi there Ninja! Welcome back to my channel. This is Rhea once again and you're still watching Call Center Ninja. So if you're new here, I just want to let you know that I share real stories and tips to help you begin, enjoy, and survive your call center lifestyle. And I know if you've been watching my videos for quite some time now, you might already be sick and tired of my introduction, but I'm really just saying this to the new people who get to watch this video for the first time. So again, if you're new, please consider subscribing by clicking the red subscribe button down below. Or if you have been watching my videos for quite some time but you haven't subscribed yet, then what are you waiting for? Please subscribe and I would really appreciate it. So last time we actually talked about customer satisfaction survey or CSAT survey as one of the metrics that you will have when you already work in a call center. Now another metric that I think is very important is the QA or quality assurance metric. This determines whether or not you follow the policies, the guidelines, or the regulations, the step-by-step procedures that are in place when you are assisting a customer in order to achieve a resolution or a solution for a particular concern or issue. The higher your score for this, the better. So most likely it works that way. Usually you are rated from 0 to 100%. So basically if you get 100%, then that's good. That means you have a perfect QA score and you did everything correctly in terms of procedures and policies during the call. So based on my experience, QA always had a big impact or big weight on the scorecard, meaning if you fail your QA evaluation for the month, it's highly likely that you'll also fail your scorecard or you will not get your bonuses or your incentives for the month. So I'd like to share with you my experience. This might be slightly or very different from what you will experience when you're already the one taking a call or working in a call center. So I was profiled for a banking account, so naturally our client would be very strict when it comes to policies and procedures. And in fact, we had about 3 pages of QA form or QA evaluation sheet. So just imagine that, 3 pages long. That means that when you take call, in our case back then, we would really have to be careful and cautious because of course we wanted to hit a perfect QA score, or if not perfect QA score, at least we would pass the target rating for QA or quality evaluation. You might be asking how you will be evaluated or how your QA analyst will evaluate your calls. There are different types of QA evaluation. So first is the call recording. If your calls are all recorded, then it would be easy for your QA analyst to listen to your calls or call recording. They will just, actually in our case, they will just randomly pick a call and evaluate that call out of the many calls that you will get during the month. Your quality analyst would also do a side-by-side evaluation, or what we call SBS. Usually in our case, for new hires or those who are still starting to take calls, QA analysts will do the evaluation beside the agent while he or she is taking calls. So it's a live evaluation. There is going to be a whiteboard attached to your headset. So while you're taking call, your QA analyst will be there beside you and will also be listening to the customer while you are taking the call or while you are speaking with the customer. Which can be quite nerve-wracking if you think about it because it's live, but you can also take it as an opportunity for the QA analyst to assist you in case things get a little bit difficult or hard for you. Aside from SBS or call recording, there is also what we call the remote call monitoring, or it is when you are taking calls but someone is also listening to your calls. Someone is listening to you somewhere out there while you are taking calls and actually evaluating you in secret. But sometimes back then, we would be aware if someone is doing a remote call monitoring because there is always something that interfered the line, like a static line or like a buzz sound, something like that. Now, I'm going to share with you how our QA evaluation form or evaluation sheet looks like, so you have an idea of what to expect for QA evaluations. But of course, I don't have the copy of our QA form anymore because I'm not supposed to have a copy of it after I leave the company. So I'm just gonna give you an idea of how it is. For example, there is the first section of the form. There's an actual form, a paper form, or some accounts or companies also have a digital form or online form where they will just input all the information or all the details, so it depends. But mainly there is like an actual form. And then, let's just say on the first section, it is the greeting part. So you can see the greeting, and then for each section there are also parameters that you need to hit. For example, under the greeting section, there is a question. So did the agent properly follow the opening spiel? Did the agent empathize for the customer's concern? Did the agent use the customer's last name to greet the customer? So for example, those are the three parameters, and those were actually what existed back when I was taking calls. While your QA analyst listens to your call, he or she will check the checkbox if you did the first parameter, if you followed the opening spiel, if you empathize, check. If you use the customer's last name to address him or her, check. So if it's all checked, then good for you. You pass section 1. And then there is the section 2. Let's just say it's all about authentication or verification. So it's how you authenticate or verify the customer before you actually help or assist the customer. So in my case, I was in a banking account. It's very strict. We had a lot of things to consider because we want to make sure that the customer's information was secure. And for example, under the authentication or verification section of the QA form, you have the first question. Did the agent authenticate the customer properly? Did the agent follow the correct authentication procedures? So there are also parameters. Again, it depends on the account or the client. And if you pass all that, then good. If you miss one, let's just say you were not able to correctly authenticate, or you missed one question or something like that, then that would be X. So that's going to be a deduction for you. It's what we call a QA deduction, and that's going to be taken against your quality score. So let's just say the third section of your QA form is the procedure, or the step-by-step process of how you resolve a certain issue or a certain concern. So for example, if you need to replace a card or you need to send a billing statement to your customer, then the parameters can be: number 1, did the agent follow the correct procedures for sending the billing statement? Did the agent verify the information first before sending the billing statement to the customer? So those are the step-by-step procedures. And again, if you hit all of those parameters, then you are perfect for that particular section. Section, not session. In some accounts, like in my account previously, aside from those sections, we also have a lot more other things to consider. We have a ZTP or zero tolerance policy that will actually cause you to get an auto-fail score. So when I say auto-fail, it's possible that even though you followed all the parameters stated in your long QA form, but you missed that one very crucial thing when it comes to quality, then you can get an auto-fail score. So it doesn't matter if you're perfect, but you did not follow that one single thing. For example, in our case, zero tolerance policy, if the agent was rude to the customer and it was listened to, or there wasn't evidence because of that call recording, then even though that agent perfected the entire call, but he or she was rude, that's an auto fail, so 0. Now that you already have an idea of how a QA evaluation form might look like, let's now talk about some basic best practices or tips for you to be able to hit your QA evaluation rating or score. So my tip number 1 is have a clear understanding of your QA form. So basically, you have to know exactly how you are being rated. Similar with a CSAT survey, that you have to know the categories of how you will be rated by the customer. In your QA evaluation, you also have to know exactly how you will be rated. And how will you know that? Of course, you have to understand what is on your QA form. When you are starting, you will probably have a QA talk. So your QA analyst or even your supervisor or your trainer will explain to you the parameters that are included in your QA form. So why do you have to do this? Of course, it's very clear. If you just know which parameters you need to follow, you need to not miss, then you will be able to control the call. I know at first it's kind of hard to think of all the parameters, but eventually once you get familiar with the entire QA form, it will be easier for you to think of, okay, this is something that I should do, because if I will not do this, then I will get a QA deduction. And it's very clear because it is clearly stated on your QA form. Of course, along with that, along with knowing how you will be rated and how your QA form looks like, what are the parameters included, of course, it's also very important for you to get familiar with the different policies, procedures, guidelines, step-by-step procedures of your account, because that's the only way for you to make sure that you will not get a QA deduction, because you're confident that you are doing the right thing and you're just following the policy. Tip number 2, speak with your QA analyst. So why am I saying this? Because, a little bit contrary to the first tip that I gave you, that it's really on paper, you really know the parameters included on your QA form. Sometimes there are QA forms that are vague in nature or unclear, and only the QA analysts know what it means and how they will rate you based on that parameter. Sometimes it happens because when you look at the QA form, it's just one sentence or one question, but it doesn't really outline all the necessary things that are included for you to get a deduction or not. So when you speak with your QA analyst, you can always verify the parameters. Sometimes it does become more of, I'm just saying this based on experience, because that QA analyst has a different approach to how things should be rated, then it is best that you follow that approach of the QA analyst, because anyway, that QA analyst will be the one to evaluate your calls. So if you get the hang of it, and if that's what your QA analyst tells you, then trust your QA analyst, because they are in that position for a reason. Number 3 tip. In relation to number 2, which is to speak with your QA analyst, you also have to know how many times are you being evaluated in a month. So I'm saying this because apparently your QA analyst can only listen to so much calls as she can get, or there is a quota for each agent. So for example, your QA analyst just needs to listen to 3 calls, and 3 calls are not that much. Out of the many calls that you will get in a month, only 3 calls will be evaluated. So if you failed the first one, then how are you supposed to pass your average score of QA for the entire month if you only have 2 more quality evaluations left? and you will not be able to pass the 2. So know how many times you will be evaluated, because that will give you an idea, you know, how to control the call. Like, okay, in my first evaluation, I already got this score. So for my next 2 evaluations, I should get this score. This is my target QA score, so that at the end of the month, I will pass my QA rating. That's about it for today. I thank you so much for tuning in and for always watching and listening to me. I hope you've learned something about your QA metric. And I want to apologize because I don't think my voice is in a very good condition, because I'm a little bit under the weather right now, because it's the rainy season here in the Philippines, so you know, it's easy to get sick. But I still thank you for tuning in, even if my voice sucks or whatever. So if you're watching this video and you haven't liked my Facebook page yet, and you want an extension of my YouTube channel, or you want us to connect outside YouTube, please do follow my Facebook page. Just search Call Center Ninja on Facebook, or link down below. Also join my Facebook support group, where I always answer questions or comments that you may have. And as usual, if you like this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. So I'm kind of losing my voice right now. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and remember, I have videos every Wednesdays and every Fridays. See you on my next video. Don't forget to comment anything that you'd like to ask me. Take care and bye-bye, and make sure that you don't get sick.